The story of Elon Musk coming in to see a 17-year-old boy has inspired and become an extremely interesting story that inspires many people. Let's listen to this surprising story. The miracle will appear in your life. Arcadia High School is not a particularly outstanding school, but perhaps that is why Ethan Walker feels even more lost. With grey concrete walls and long, empty hallways, this place is like a pressured maze, with students who all have clear goals about society and integration. For Ethan, all he feels is loneliness. Every morning, when he walks into school, Ethan is faced with a feeling of coldness. The cold eyes and the passing glance never stop. He is a student with a strong passion for aerospace engineering and electric vehicles. But that is also what makes him an outsider. Most of his classmates did not understand or care about what he was passionate about. His detailed drawings of electric cars, engine systems, and spacecraft designs only made them think Ethan was different. At Arcadia High School, standing out for his creativity or academic passions was not easy. On the contrary, those things only made him a target for ridicule. Other students never missed an opportunity to laugh and mock him for his dreams that they considered unrealistic. For a student like Ethan, the feeling of not belonging here, not being like his peers, was an extremely difficult challenge. Lunch was the most difficult time of the day for Ethan. Seeing groups of friends gathered together, laughing and playing together, he felt like he was on the fringes of society. Every day, Ethan would find a corner in the cafeteria, the most deserted place, and sit there alone. He didn't want to bother anyone, nor did he want anyone to see him as different. He opened his book, his hands shaking, drawing designs of spaceships and electric cars that he hoped would change the world one day. The feeling of loneliness permeated every stroke of his drawing. Ethan's feeling wasn't just sadness. It was the excruciating pain of knowing that he was being looked down upon and ridiculed for his big dreams. But he couldn't stop, couldn't give up those passions, because they were what made him feel alive. However, with each passing day, he felt the loneliness getting heavier, and everything seemed to get worse when Ryan Mitchell appeared in his every day. Ryan was the most outstanding student in the school. As the captain of the basketball team, Ryan was the one everyone looked up to, and that made Ethan feel like a pale shadow in Ryan's world. Everything about Ryan was perfect. His looks, his athleticism, his confidence, and the ease with which he commanded attention. And Ryan knew that perfection could make others feel inferior. So for Ethan, Ryan was not only someone he had admired for a long time, but also someone who made him feel the worst. Ryan quickly noticed Ethan's differences, the brief conversations, and the mocking looks Ryan gave Ethan every time he passed, made him feel like he was being surveyed. But this was nothing compared to what Ryan actually did. Every lunch, while Ethan was engrossed in his designs, Ryan never missed an opportunity to mock him. He would approach Ethan's desk, pretend to be curious, and look at the drawings, then mock him. "Hey, are you still drawing those spaceships? Don't you think you should go back to the real world? These things will never go up into the sky." Martinez. The laughter of his friends around him made Ethan's heart ache. Those laughter were like sharp knives, stabbing his heart. Ryan's mockery was not only verbal but also physical. At first, it was just taking Ethan's drawing book and tearing out the pages that he had spent hours completing. Ryan's friends laughed loudly, but no one stopped him, and no one stood up to protect Ethan. Later, Ryan did everything he could to sabotage the projects Ethan was working on. The peak was during the Future Electric Vehicle Design Competition, organized by the city. This was the competition Ethan had been waiting for months. Ethan had always believed that this was the only chance for him to prove himself, to prove to everyone that his passion was not in vain. Ethan devoted all his time and energy to preparing. He spent hours in the lab, sleepless nights, and perfect drawings that he hoped would impress the judges. Ethan's car was not only designed with energy-saving features, but also had an autonomous control system integrated with space technology. It was everything he had dreamed of, and he wanted the whole world to see this creation. The competition day was approaching, and everything was ready. Ethan truly felt like he was standing on the edge of success. Every step he took was a victory. He was almost done with his car, with only a few small details and final adjustments left before competing. Ethan felt confident, a feeling he had never felt so strong. However, everything changed that morning when he arrived at the lab and discovered an unbelievable sight. His electric car model, a masterpiece that he had put all his effort into, was lying on the ground, shattered into small pieces. Pieces of metal, plastic, and delicate electronic components were scattered all over the floor. Ethan stood there, dumbfounded, unable to believe his eyes. He bent down, his hands shaking as he tried to pick up the pieces, but he couldn't put them back together. Who did this? That question quickly popped into Ethan's mind, but he didn't have to think long. He knew who the culprit was: Ryan Mitchell, the popular classmate in school who had been teasing him all this time. Ryan wasn't just the bully, he was now the one who destroyed Ethan's last hope. No one else could have done this, and Ethan felt a huge shock. He felt like everything had collapsed. The dreams he had hoped for were all destroyed in a single moment. Ethan couldn't hold back his emotions. He sat down, head bowed, eyes brimming with tears. A feeling of despair and frustration filled him. Everything he had done, all his efforts, all his dreams of one day changing the world, all was left in this ruin. He didn't know what to do anymore. The competition was only a few days away, and now everything was gone. Although Ethan wanted to fight, wanted to reach and stand up, he couldn't. He had no strength to continue, no motivation to rebuild everything from scratch. This made Ethan collapse deeper than ever. He didn't tell anyone about this, not even a word to his mother. He just kept quiet, hid in his room, and avoided everything. After this event, Ethan seemed to disappear from the world. He no longer showed up at school with creative ideas, no longer participated in group activities, no longer had any joy in life. He just withdrew into his room, closed the door, and did not want to see anyone. The loneliness he had experienced before had now turned into deep sadness in his soul. Ethan no longer wanted to talk to his friends, did not want to go anywhere, did not want to do anything. He could not understand why he had to face all this suffering, when he simply wanted to do the right thing, wanted to achieve his dreams. At home, things didn't seem to be getting any better. Ethan's mother, Mrs. Walker, had noticed a big change in her son. Ethan had always been full of energy and passion for his creative projects. He spent hours every night working, designing, and drawing electric cars or spaceship models. But now, he didn't do those things anymore. Their home, which had once been filled with blueprints and engineering models, felt empty. Mrs. Walker felt heartbroken as her son became quiet, no longer sharing the projects he had been so proud of. She knew what was happening to Ethan, but didn't know what to do to help him. Ethan no longer got up in the morning to work. He just sat in his room, eyes blank, not saying a word. Sometimes she heard sighs from his room, but didn't know how to help him overcome this sadness. One night, when she saw her son sitting at his desk, his face blank, she could no longer keep quiet. She sat down next to him and asked softly, "What's wrong, Ethan?" He was silent for a long time, then spoke in a soft voice, as if he were about to cry. "Everything is ruined, Mum. Everything has been destroyed by them. I don't know if I can go on anymore." Those words were like a great shock to her. Ethan's words carried a despair that she had never seen so clearly before. She understood that her son was going through a great shock, but no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't find a way to help him overcome this sadness. Ethan's mother knew that something had to be done now before things got worse. She couldn't let Ethan sink into the darkness of despair forever. One day, she decided she couldn't wait any longer. Ethan's silence was untenable, and she had to do something to pull her son out of this situation. She thought of a way to help him. If Ethan couldn't find the strength within himself, then maybe help from the community would be the solution. Although she couldn't change what had happened, she believed that her son needed to find hope, encouragement, and self-belief. She decided to post a post on social media. She described Ethan's situation not as a plea, but as an invitation for the community to help. She shared the story of her son's passion, his relentless efforts over the years, the big dreams Ethan had worked so hard to build, and the shock of what he had done being destroyed. She didn't forget to tell about Ethan's struggles in school, the ridicule and bullying he endured every day. Ethan's mother hopes that through this post, someone will understand her son. Someone can provide Ethan with words of encouragement, support, or simply sincere sharing from people who have overcome similar difficulties. She believes that a loving and supportive community can be the key to helping Ethan find himself again. Mrs. Walker's post created an unexpected wave on social media. Within hours of her posting, thousands of people had shared Ethan's story. Comments from the online community kept pouring in, with words of encouragement and sincere sharing from people who had gone through similar difficulties. These words of encouragement helped Mrs. Walker feel more secure because she knew that her son was no longer facing these challenges alone. And amid all the encouragement, there was one particular response that surprised Mrs. Walker. A message from a famous Twitter account appeared in the comments section. Elon Musk. She couldn't believe her eyes when she read the short words he shared. Reading this article, I understand what Ethan is going through. When I was young, I was bullied and felt abandoned. But it was those challenges that helped me stand firm and grow. Ethan, don't give up. Keep creating. Keep dreaming. Within minutes, Elon Musk's post had gone viral, bringing Ethan's story to millions of his followers. But the most surprising thing was not the encouragement, but his next action. The next morning, at the small house of the mother and son, a shiny black car stopped in front of their house. It was a car with a prominent SpaceX logo. When the car door opened, Elon Musk stepped out with a warm but determined smile. The air seemed to stop for a moment as Ethan stood looking at him from the window. He couldn't believe his eyes. This was Elon Musk, the founder of SpaceX, and Tesla, someone he had only known from newspapers and social media. But he was standing right in front of his house, for real. When Elon entered the house, Mrs. Walker hurriedly greeted him. After a few minutes of conversation, she led him to Ethan's room. He was still sitting there, in the corner of the room, his eyes fixed on the computer screen, but not focused. When his mother walked in with Elon, he looked up, and his eyes were filled with surprise. "Hi, Ethan. I'm Elon," Mr. Musk said, his eyes shining. "I heard your story and I thought we should talk." Ethan looked at him, not knowing what to say. He couldn't believe that someone as famous as Elon Musk was standing here, right in his room. You? Ethan stammered. Elon chuckled. "Yes, I am. And I'm so glad to meet you. I want to tell you something you've probably never heard from anyone. I was just like you, Ethan. When I was younger, I was bullied and looked down on, and sometimes I felt left out. But it was those challenges, those people who hurt me, that made me grow. and become the person I am today. Ethan couldn't speak, but his attention seemed to be completely on Mr. Musk. He could feel the sincerity in Elon's words, words he had never heard from anyone else. And I want you to know one thing, Ethan, Elon continued. When you face difficulties, when you are defeated, that is not the time to give up. That is the time to stand up, stronger than ever. And you, Ethan, have something that very few people have. The ability to innovate. Never lose it. Keep dreaming. Keep creating, and you will see great things come. After he finished speaking, Elon pulled a small box from his backpack and placed it on the table. Ethan looked at the box with curiosity. Elon opened the box, and inside was a small engineering toolkit, parts, and equipment that Ethan had only seen in advanced laboratories. These were tools that he could only dream of owning. This is the SpaceX engineering toolkit, Elon said. I hope it helps you with your ideas. Use it to build, to test, to create what you believe is possible. Ethan looked at the toolkit, overwhelmed with emotion. He was speechless. This was not just a gift, but an opportunity, an encouragement that he had never dreamed of. Thank you, Ethan said, his voice trembling with emotion. He didn't know what else to say. Elon's words had penetrated his heart, like a spiritual medicine that helped him stand firm after all the previous failures. Ethan couldn't help but feel like he had just emerged from a dream. After his unexpected encounter with Elon Musk, he had the motivation he needed to continue his creative journey. The SpaceX toolkit was not just a material gift, but also a symbol of Elon's trust and hope in him. In the following months, Ethan devoted himself to researching and testing his ideas. He was no longer the traumatized boy who felt helpless in the face of adversity and bullying. He had grown up and learned to stand up and fight to achieve his goals. Ethan began rebuilding the electric car he had started building earlier, using modern technology and the SpaceX kit Elon had gifted him. Every day, he documented his progress, experiments, and improvements. He experimented with new parts and devices and invented more efficient ways of doing things. He felt like he had found his own path, a path that led to constant creativity and innovation. He even started participating in science and engineering competitions, where he could showcase his creations. Each competition was a new challenge, but with what he had learned from failure, the support of his mother, and the encouragement of Elon Musk, Ethan was no longer afraid. A month after receiving the SpaceX kit, Ethan decided to participate in the National Science Competition for high school students. This was a great opportunity for him to prove his abilities and, more importantly, to be recognized not only by his teachers and friends, but also by himself. With the help of his mother, Ethan prepared an impressive engineering project of an autonomous electric car, integrating energy-saving technologies and recycling materials. He spent weeks perfecting the design, testing and refining the details, using the tools that Elon Musk had given him. His project was not just a product of science, but also the result of perseverance, endless creativity, and a groundbreaking vision of the future. The day of the competition arrived. Ethan felt nervous, but also excited. He took his electric car to the convention center where the competition was held. He did not know how many participants would participate, but he told himself that he would try his best. When he looked around, he saw many different projects, from robot models to renewable energy inventions. But Ethan's self-driving electric car was unlike any other product here. It had exquisite design, outstanding features, and especially the ability to save maximum energy. When it was Ethan's turn, he stood up to present to the judges and the audience. His voice was no longer trembling like before, but more steady and confident. He talked about his project, about the research process, and the difficulties he had experienced. And in particular, he shared about his transformation from a bullied, doubted boy to a person who can change the world with his creativity. Ethan's story touched the hearts of many people on the jury who had faced similar challenges. When the jury announced the results, Ethan's name was called to receive the first prize. Standing on the stage, the lights shining on his face, Ethan felt a strong emotion welling up inside him. This was not only the prestigious award he had longed for, but also the recognition of the effort and perseverance he had put in over the years. When he held the trophy in his hands, he no longer felt like an abandoned child, but a winner, someone who could change the world. "Congratulations, Ethan," said an older judge. "Your project is truly impressive. This is a remarkable achievement, and I believe you will achieve great things in the future." The compliments were endless from teachers, friends, and contestants. They came to congratulate Ethan. People who might have ignored him before now looked at him with admiration and respect. He was no longer a quiet boy, but an inspirational person. When talking about creativity, perseverance, and ambition, people would immediately think of his name. After the contest, Ethan received another piece of good news. He received an offer to study at a top engineering university where he could continue pursuing his passion. This was an opportunity he had never thought of before. He had doubted himself, but now he had received recognition not only from teachers and friends, but also from influential people in the engineering industry. Another piece of good news came when a representative from SpaceX contacted him. They had heard about Ethan's project through the science competition, and they wanted him to intern at SpaceX. The opportunity couldn't have been more amazing. Ethan couldn't believe his eyes when he received this invitation. It was a chance for him to work with the leading innovators in the space industry, people he had only known from articles and videos. When this announcement was communicated, Mrs. Walker couldn't hide her emotions either. She looked proudly at her son, who had now become someone everyone respected and admired. Over the years, Ethan has not only continued to grow his career, but has also become an inspiration to his classmates and others. He shares his story, his journey of overcoming fear, his failures, and how he got back up after falling. Ethan is no longer a victim of bullying. He is a symbol of perseverance, creativity, and change. He inspires others, especially students who are struggling like he was. People who were once victims of isolation, bullying, or lack of confidence now look to Ethan for encouragement, for proof that they too can change, rise up, and achieve great things. As Ethan walks through the doors of SpaceX for the first time, he looks back at the journey he has taken, from a weak, broken boy to someone who stands tall, confident, and inspires the world. He knew that his journey was just beginning, and nothing is impossible when you believe in yourself and continue to dream. Ethan Walker not only became an icon of perseverance and creativity, but he also decided to devote much of his time and energy to helping other students who were like him. Students who were bullied, lacked confidence, and never dared to dream of a bright future in science and technology. The Reach for the Stars program was born from Ethan's heart and passion. The goal of Reach for the Stars is to help students feel connected and respected and realize that they can make a difference. Shortly after the program was launched, Ethan received strong support from SpaceX and the engineers he met along his journey. Elon Musk, who opened the door for him, continued to support the Reach for the Stars program by providing financial resources, technical toolkits, and connections to top engineers at SpaceX, who will be mentors for the students participating in the program. In a short time, Reach for the Stars has spread to many schools in other cities. With the success of Reach for the Stars, Ethan Walker has become an icon, not only in the STEM community, but also in the global education community. Ethan is no longer the bullied boy of the past. He is an innovator, a person who has built a supportive community, and a person who has opened the door to the future for thousands of students who are aspiring to dream. He has become a leader, an inspiration, and above all, a person who understands that support, trust, and empathy can change anyone's life.